I spent nearly a year seeing doctors in Connecticut, New York, Los Angeles, and DC. 3 of them referred me to psych, and they just didn't pay attention until I almost died. The point of the project is that the stakes of disregarding women's voices are dangerously high, and they're dangerously high for everybody, regardless of gender.
Welcome to Fierce Frequency, the podcast where your voice, your power, and your story take center stage. I'm your host, Angela Cherry. In each episode, we dive into bold conversations, fresh perspectives, and the energy that fuels change. Tune in, turn up, and let's get fierce together.
Have you ever tried to tell the truth only to have no one believe you? Imagine knowing something was wrong, feeling it, living it, and yet your voice being dismissed. Today's guest has spent a lifetime telling stories from Broadway and Hollywood to award-winning filmmaking, but her most important story may be the one she's telling now through the Cassandra Project. Please join me in welcoming Emmy Award-winning filmmaker, producer, director, and visionary Barclay DeVeau. Thanks for joining us. So tell us, most people know you today as the award-winning filmmaker, producer, and director, but your journey actually started in front of the camera. Take us back a little bit and tell us what that was like for you.
Sure. Yeah. I think this is not too uncommon of a story, but I saw Annie. Mom took me to Annie when I was 7 and on Broadway. And I fell in love with this whole thing I didn't know existed. And I begged my mom to let me do that for a couple of years. And she said no for a while. She said, I don't think it's a good business for kids. And I was very persistent. And so she acquiesced. And this was back in the day in New York when there were like open calls for brunette day at managers. That's how it worked back then. Okay. And so she kind of gave in this one day and took me into New York. And there was I literally can see the hallway in my head of hundreds of little girls with dark hair, which is the real color of my hair, dark. I was very shy in front of strangers. I mean, not with my friends at all or with people I knew well. But I really was so shy that, like, for example, in a restaurant, if I dropped my straw, I was afraid to ask the waiter or waitress for another one. And my mom really thought this is ridiculous. So anyway, she brought me into there were hundreds of little girls. I honestly don't remember the manager's name. But at the end of the day, so they kept cutting people and cutting people and cutting people. And my mom kept getting more and more confused that I was still there. And at the end of the day, they picked 2 people and signed us. And what's really interesting is that it happened so fast. The first audition I had was a week later, and it was for a replacement in a Broadway show. So the show was already running, and one of the little girls, there was a role for one little girl in the show, but it was shared by 2 little girls, and one of those 2 little girls grew out of the role, literally too tall out of the role. And I was sent on this audition within a week of this day being in a hallway with hundreds of kids. And so my mom took me into the city for this thing, again, thinking, this is ridiculous. And I literally booked it that day and was on stage a week later. So I was 9. And that began a career that I have been in for my whole life, because although I was, yes, on stage and in front of the camera as a child, I was also making movies. I mean, the day that we got a VHS camera, I coerced every child in my neighborhood to star in the films that I wrote. I still have some of them on VHS. And I had this incredible opportunity to learn from so many wonderful directors along the way as a child and work with so many beautiful, creative people who I learned not only the technique of filmmaking or theatrical creation from, but I learned how to be a good person in the process, which I learned mostly from my mom and my grandma, who are my parents. My mom and my grandma raised me. And so I had these two incredible women at the heart of and soul of my life and the epicenter of my life, always making sure that I was protected and that I understood my brother's Little League game and my sister's recital was absolutely just as important as my Broadway show or the film shoot or the TV show. This is a really long answer, but this is the story. I think I think I knew by the time I was 10 probably that I wanted to direct. And that didn't mean I didn't enjoy acting. I did. What I didn't enjoy about it was attention.
Okay.
And, you know, you can really only go so far as an actor without having to be in the spotlight. And the same is somewhat applicable to being a filmmaker, but it's much less, many less cameras on you, much less attention. I actually remember that first show I auditioned for that was already going, and I went into rehearsals with understudies like the day after I booked it. The director of that show, AJ Antoon is his name. I didn't want to do the curtain call during the rehearsal. And he was like, "What is wrong with this child?" And I was like, "No, I don't want to do that part." He said, "Well, that's not an option. You have to do the curtain call."
Right.
So I still feel that way a little bit. And I grew up and I sort of exercised my desire to be creative in the acting field in some voiceover work, which feels a lot more anonymous and is super fun. But I really, really love making the whole thing. And in that, as a director, I feel you get to perform in all the roles almost and working with the actors in all the different roles. You have to feel everything and you have to feel it deeply with them, you know? And so it feels like a natural extension of acting. So
your first acting was on Broadway, essentially.
Yeah.
That is insanely cool. So how did it feel? Like, how did you feel? I know you didn't want to do the curtain call, but otherwise, like, how did it feel to be acting on Broadway?
Well, first of all, I am incredibly grateful that I didn't really understand how I was in a show with Liza Minnelli and Chita Rivera. Okay. I didn't know who they were because I was 9. Wow. And I feel so blessed and so grateful that I didn't know. And both of them were so lovely. And the guys in the cast who I just adored grew up to be, by the way, Rob Marshall, one of the most amazing directors we have today, and Scott Ellis, who's an incredible theater and television director. It felt, because I didn't know who any of these people were in terms of like fame, it was just a bunch of awesome people. And my mom, who is my best friend, and a world that is absolutely magical, a theater. It felt magical. And the other little girl in the show, Kim Furtman, is still one of my best friends today. And it's 40 years later, a lot more than 40 years later. And I mean, really, like, we are so close. She's my sister.
I love
And
that.
it really, everything about it, Angela, was magical. Everything. Sitting there watching the lighting design, having water fights in my dressing room, making friends with the Italian Ices guy. I still remember his name, Pete, on 45th Street. It was abs, and riding the train with mom every night. And, I got to drive the train. I am now, as an adult, pretty sure that the conductor might have not been telling me the truth when he said I was actually driving the train, but I thought I was. Everything about it was magical. The music, the lights, the people, the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful people, and the lessons I learned. Because it was the mid 80s. And, it was also a time when a lot of my gay uncles were dying of something, and so I grew up supporting a community so deeply and learning about these things from my best friend, my mom, and learning to love everybody unless they give you a reason not to, which some people do, specific people. But it was a tremendous experience for which I'm incredibly grateful. And I think about it, and sometimes Kim and I, the other little girl who, as I said, is really like a sister to me, talk about this. We have so many dreams about this show, and both she and I, like dreams in sleep, dreams. Right. And she and I both went on to do scores of other projects in our lives. But there was something about this show, even though it's not one of Candor and Ebb's most famous shows. It's not Cabaret or Chicago. Those are the Candor and Ebb shows we know. It's not even Zorba. It's a show called The Ring. But boy, there was just something I cannot imagine. It's hard for me to say this without getting tears in my eyes, because I cannot imagine having had a more magical entree into this business, because everyone took care of the kids. They looked out for us. I know what was going on, right? It was I don't need to explain in detail other things that were happening in the mid 80s.
Right.
But I was also with my mom, who explained it, and with a lot of adults who really cared about protecting the children, and without hiding things from us.
Yeah.
So it was, and creatively, the music, it was magical.
What a beautiful start to your career, right? And it just still to this day, after all the projects that you've done, feeling so magical, that just speaks to the experience that you had and how lucky you were to have a mother and other people that are around that were protecting you, but also not hiding things from you, so that you could learn and be aware. Because I think that it's a huge thing that we help our children understand things too. You can't shield them from everything. You can try to protect them, but they need to understand what's out there.
Yeah. And certainly I don't think many children are exposed to the types of things I was exposed to as a 9, 10, 12-year-old. But I do believe that because I was exposed to some of those things, I've never done drugs in my life, ever.
Yeah.
And I have no desire to. First of all, I think I get high off creativity, so I don't need them. But I did, my mom didn't shy away from explaining things to me, and that was such. I would never tell anyone how to parent their children, but all I can tell you is that the way my mom was so open with me about what things were, she didn't try to close the door and hide me from it. She explained it in a way that led me to grow up and not really want to do those things,
Yeah.
And so again, I was also in this really I love dichotomous situation in which I was doing a Broadway show and also making every one of my brother's Little League games I could make. And, you know, I was in regular school 4 days a week. You know, it was, I grew up in suburban Connecticut, and you know, some of my best friends to this day are from elementary school in suburban Connecticut, right? So I wasn't like different in school, and any more so than the soccer star is different,
Right.
or the you know, first violinist is different, or you know, I was doing well, but I wasn't treated differently, and it was such a special experience that helped me fall in. I mean, I fell in love that day watching Annie. I fell in love, and but then getting to have this as my first experience, as you said, really just solidified that. It could have been I could have been cast in, well, I could have been cast in nothing, you know, or I could have been cast in something where, you know, the other little girl in the show and I hated each other, but instead we grew up and we're like sisters, right? Like any number of things could have been different that would have turned me off to something. But instead, all of the stars aligned in the most magical, beautiful way with this show, The Rink. And I mean, Baryshnikov was because Liza Minnelli was friends with all these people. Now, I learned who they were from my mom, because I didn't know who they were. The only person I actually did know who they were when they came backstage was Michael Jackson. I definitely knew. I knew who he was, but I didn't,
that one.
you know, I didn't know who Baryshnikov was. I'll be honest, and this sounds ridiculous to me as an adult, but at 9, I guess not so much. I didn't know who Elizabeth Taylor was. I was backstage. These were...
You got to meet Elizabeth Taylor too?
Well, these were Liza's friends, right? I mean, they were backstage, you know, coming in and out of her dressing room to come see her in the show. And
you're my hero.
I didn't do anything to make that happen. Maybe Liza's your hero.
I love that you had these amazing experiences. This is so cool.
But as I said in the beginning of this, part of what I am incredibly grateful for is that I didn't actually understand that it was it was so uniquely special, this experience. It felt magical to me, but I didn't know Cheetah. I didn't know Liza. I came to know them as people in the show, but I didn't know that Liza's mother was Judy Garland. Like, I didn't know these things at 9 years old. And I think it also made me a better actor, because I didn't have a lot of hangups and I wasn't afraid. It definitely didn't make me better at the curtain call.
That's the one thing, right?
never grew to love that part. Just got better at pretending I was okay with it. But it was just a beautiful experience filled with lovely people. And again, at the center of that are the two people who raised me, my mom and my grandma.
That's amazing. So I want to go back briefly before I veer into the next part here. Well, first of all, just name off some of the projects that you did as an actress when you were growing up, just high level. You don't have to get into too much detail, but...
Oh gosh, I did so many things. I'll tell you. I don't know if I really want to go through a list of all the things, because I did a lot. And then I also, when I'll explain this to you, which I think maybe now isn't the case anymore, but I graduated from USC Film School in 1996. And at the time, there were a lot of kid actors right around my age who became filmmakers, directors. And I spent a lot of time and effort, and it was not easy on IMDb, trying to remove a lot of things, not because I wasn't proud of them and not because they were bad experiences. They were all wonderful experiences. But I didn't want to be seen as like another kid actor who grew up to become a filmmaker.
Okay.
I wanted to be seen as an adult. But I will share that in some of the things I did have the opportunity to watch and learn from some of, this is subjective, of course, but maybe not so much when we're talking about someone like Alan Pakula, who directed Sophie's Choice and All the President's Men and many, many, many other incredible films. I did a film that he directed. And it's funny, I shot for like a month, but I'm in it for maybe 30 seconds. That's, how it goes. But what an amazing month where he noticed me looking at the monitors. He noticed me watching the art department, and he sat me on his lap, not in a creepy way. He sat me on his lap and explained different lenses to me and made me feel like I was helping him make choices in the art department. And he was such a beautiful, beautiful man. And so I took all of that right back to my little suburban Connecticut neighborhood and incorporated it into my VHS films. Starring my neighbors.
It's funny that you went there, because that's exactly where I was taking it. And also, thank you for being authentic in your answer. I think, someone like me that didn't grow up in the industry doesn't really understand a lot of things that you've navigated. It's interesting to hear your feedback and like your view and how you wanted to, as you grew up and learned more about what you're passionate about, like how you wanted to put yourself out there as a filmmaker and not just another child actor star, however you want to put it. So I just love that you were just so authentic in walking through all that. And then I'll go into the fact that when you said, I want to know this, because I can relate to this part, the VHS tapes.
Yeah.
When you did that, were you doing that with the neighborhood kids or whomever before you ever did your first acting gig, or did that kind of like happen after that? Like,
it coincided with, like, they started right around the same time. I feel like we got the VHS camera probably the same year that I started acting. And if I hadn't started acting, I would have been doing what I was doing with the VHS camera anyway. So I also...
I say that because I can relate to doing that. My brother and we made it everybody's problem that we were going to put on a show and we were going to record it, and you're going to sit and you're going to watch. Like, there's a family gathering. Guess what? We're putting on a show.
Angela,
and you don't have a choice.
Same. And
you don't have a choice, since you have to be there. So I'm just wondering, is this the same experience you were having?
Yes. And I'm so curious, and I think you already answered this, but now that I'm an adult, I realize, like, was I forcing the kids in the neighborhood to be in these productions? Like, I think they would have rather, I also loved playing kickball, but I think they would have rather been playing kickball. There's one of my neighbors who is a dear, dear, dear friend of mine to this day across the street. His name is Danny. And he actually played an extra in our first film in the Cassandra trilogy. We are like brother and sister. I think he enjoyed it. But I don't know that any of my siblings enjoyed it, or many of the other kids in the neighborhood who I didn't like ask them if they wanted to do this. I just assigned them roles, and for whatever reason, they did it.
I love it. That is so fun. I know myself, I have some really awesome memories growing up, just doing those things, whether, I don't know if I forced them to or not, but I know we definitely forced the adults to sit down and watch.
Oh yeah. That's a whole other thing. The forcing the adults to sit down and watch, we definitely did that. And I mean, I was still doing that up until I would say the pandemic. I have friends my age who, my friend Michael, who's an artistic director of a theater company in New York. And I would he spent some holidays at my mom's in Connecticut, and we would choreograph dances as adults. I mean, I'm literally talking about like 7 years ago.
This.
We would choreograph dances. We did one for Thanksgiving that we choreographed to this song, Turkey Lurkey Time. And then we forced, and this was definitely forced. I mean, not, under duress, but like forced my mom and her cousins and my mom's partner, Dave, and my brother. We forced my brother to like hold a flashlight as a spotlight as we did this dance. I mean, this is 7 years ago.
I hope you got this recorded. Probably not a VHS these days.
It's recorded. That one was recorded, I believe, on an iPhone. But yeah. It's a lot of, and I have a lot of the VHSs from the 80s as well. So yeah. I still love doing this. I mean, when I get together with friends, like a dream weekend for me is going with a bunch of friends to, let's say, somewhere in Maine on a dark and stormy night and having a fake murder mystery and really actually like acting out these roles. And, I love this stuff. I love it.
I feel like you're going to do that one day. I feel like it's going to happen.
I hope
like
so.
It is.
Yeah.
So, okay. What is your favorite part about filmmaking, about directing and writing and producing? What do you love the most about those things?
That's a beautiful question. And oddly, I've never been asked that question before. What I love the most is that I believe having the opportunity to direct gives you the opportunity to empathize with a lot of different people. So in the writing process, in the producing process, in the directing process, and in the acting process, obviously, in the editing process, in the composing process, in the cinematographer, in all of these, in the art department, all of these things coming together. As the director, as I said earlier, every role in that film is a role that you've chosen somebody who you believe embodies that or can embody the spirit of that character. And in that precious relationship a director has with that cast member, you go through a lot together. And a lot of that equals empathy. And I feel very blessed to have the opportunity to walk in other people's shoes. Always learning about what it must feel like for somebody else to be in this situation or this circumstance. And that of everything, I can go on and on and on about how I love camera lenses, which I do. And I can go on and on and on about how I love the editing process. And oh my gosh, I can go on and on about how I love being on a scoring stage with our brilliant composer, Yvette, or any, wonderful. But ultimately, the thing that I love the most is that I have the opportunity to learn what it's like to walk in other people's shoes.
I think that's amazing. Because it really, being able to do that, like you said, it allows you to have this empathy for other people, right? And you're not just looking through your own lens in life. You're looking through the lens of other people and their experiences and how it impacts them. Maybe you're not living that same experience, but if you can empathize with it, you can learn from what anybody's going through.
Yeah.
So that's really beautiful. I want to get into the Cassandra Project here in just a minute, but before I do, I want to ask you, what is the best piece of advice that you've ever received? And then twofold after that, I want you to share with us what's the worst piece of advice you've ever received.
Okay, this one's easy. Best advice I've ever received is there's no such thing as can't. No such thing as can't. worst advice I've ever received is don't try to do that. You can't.
I love it. Yeah, absolutely.
That's short answer, but that's the truth. Yeah.
No,
best advice. I was a kid. Best advice. There's no such thing as can't. That's not a word. And then the worst advice came from various people along the way who said, don't bother trying. You can't do that for whatever reason.
And I think I would say for me, that's been something that over the years, through growing and healing and all of those things, actually understanding that there's nothing that we can't achieve and that we put our mind to or we want to do. And so drowning out the naysayers, right? The ones that are telling you, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You know, for whatever reason, and really focusing in on what it is that you want to do and what you want to achieve, right?
And just believing that you will achieve it. And that's a lot easier said than done. On some days you've got 99 people saying you can't and one little voice inside saying there's no such thing as can't, right?
Right.
So it's not always as easy to live that way as it is to say these words, but absolutely I believe that to be true. I believe we can do anything we set our minds to. And even more so when we're doing it with a group of people who come together and believe in it collectively.
Yes. Who we surround ourselves with can make a big difference in regards to those things. So yeah. I agree 100% on that. So let's go to the Cassandra Project. Tell us, what is the story behind this project?
The Cassandra Project was born from a very traumatic experience I had a few years ago after getting sick with, at the time, I didn't know what, but the symptoms were various symptoms affecting different parts of my body. And I was incredibly proactive. I also have beautiful friends who are medical doctors who are helping me try to figure it out. So when I say I wasn't heard or believed, I'm going to be speaking specifically about the doctors I visited. And this is not a condemnation of all doctors. It is my personal experience with the professional doctors I went to, not my friends, but the ones I went to try to help me, because as months went on, it became evident that whatever I had was spreading, getting worse, affecting more systems in my body, my autoimmune system, my neurological system, my connective tissue. And I spent nearly a year seeing doctors in Connecticut, New York, Los Angeles, and DC. And 3 of them referred me to psych. One of the hospitals essentially locked my friend who brought me there and me in the area where they keep, I believe, people who are accused of crimes while they're waiting for the police to pick them up. None of them did the right tests. Some of them did absolutely no tests. None of them asked me questions. They dismissed me so fast and disregarded all of the information. I was going in there with information that was research I had done and research that my medical doctor friends had done. And they wanted nothing to do with it. And they just didn't pay attention until I almost died. I almost died. And if it didn't get to that point, and if it didn't get to the point where my mom, I was trying to hide this from my mom the whole time because I didn't want her to worry. But it was indeed my mom who brought her primary care physician in when it got to the point where I almost died. and I'm going to say his name, I call him Tony, but Dr. Anthony Landino, who, along with Mom, who brought him in, saved my life. And without getting into the specifics of what the disease is, not because I'm not willing to share that, it's more because it doesn't matter for the point of the project.
Right.
The point of the project is that the stakes of disregarding women's voices are dangerously high, and they're dangerously high for everybody, regardless of gender. And they're applicable to whether it's medicine or law enforcement or accounting or hospitality or the arts. Disregarding, dismissing women's voices, not believing women affects everybody in a negative way. So I always say about this project, I never set out to make a project that was a condemnation of men. It is absolutely not that. We have beautiful men involved with this project. And it is also not a partisan project, because I don't believe that the importance of hearing and believing women is a partisan issue.
Right.
So the project was born from that very, very traumatic experience. And from there, I started making phone calls to friends I've had for many, many years who got involved, and some submitted scripts, and just all companies became involved and support. Just one of my dearest friends from high school is a retired NYPD sergeant, and she wrote the story for what became the first film, based on many experiences she had over the years as an NYPD sergeant. And I got to work with, my friend Jenna, who we've known each other. I mean, I think she was 6 and I was 9, and she also grew up in Connecticut, and we took the train. We grew up acting together, and we've known each other our whole lives. And she wrote a beautiful script and is one of the producers on the project. My high school drama teacher, who is a dear, dear adult friend of mine, has been intimately involved with this project. Our composer, Yvette Janine Jackson, who's composing all 3 of the films in the trilogy, is a genius. Actually, she is the recipient of the 2025 Herb Alpert Award in the Arts for Music. She's a literal genius. And she and I have been wanting to work together for years, and this became the thing where we could do that. My editor, my film editor, Christine, and I have been working together since 1999. Francis Stellatori, one of our producers, and I went to film school together. We went to USC together, and we've been working together ever since then. And so it's this beautiful combination of people I've worked with before, my friend Melissa Llewellyn Alston and Debbie Chesbrough, and a woman who, I just love everyone. Stephanie Blackwood and Kim Coleman. My God, she's like the greatest casting director on earth, in my opinion. And she's a producer on the project. And a woman I met only after I began this project named Mara Burrows Sandler, who has been an incredible champion of what we're doing. And you and Jennifer Sheets, who are the most recent executive producers to join our team, along with Dr. Nancy O'Reilly. And Dr. Nancy O'Reilly runs an organization called Women Connect for Good, and she is the real deal. She has been involved from day one, as has my college roommate and medical doctor, Dr. Saba Ganai, like executive producer of this project. There are so many people who came together. I don't want to make it seem like, oh, I went through this trauma, and then all of a sudden one day, like everything was fine and I figured out how to do it. No, I was not fine. I was really not fine for a long time. Yeah. It was a process to get to the point where I decided either the rest of my life is going to be really angry, and that is so not who I had ever been, or I'm going to figure out how to turn this into something that can help the world. And at the time, my mom, well, I say my mom is always with me, but my mom has since passed from brain cancer. But, you know, she was by my side the day that this came into my head. My friend Brooke, the retired NYPD sergeant, Jenna, those were two of my first calls. My friend Francis, he is, you know, has been a partner on so many of the things I've done over the years. And then wonderful companies, you know, Panavision and Formosa Group and post-production and Pivotal and all these beautiful people came together. But I want to make sure to make the point that it didn't just, it wasn't like, oh, these like birdies and butterflies started flying around. And, you know, I just got out of my hospital bed and shrugged off a trauma that occurred over the course of approximately a year and said, I'm fine, that nobody believed me. And now that I'm getting the treatment I need and I'm going to go do this thing. No, I'm still in therapy. It was serious trauma. And I don't want anyone, and so many people experience it. And all of us who've come together, another wonderful dear friend and incredible champion and executive producer of this project is my friend Emmy Award-winning, who I also went to high school with. There are just so many people who, and Terry O'Neill, who's also based in Nashville, she is the former 2-term president of the National Organization for Women. Just all these different people from, you know, my friend Rebecca Eichler, like so many people. I've worked with Rebecca on all of the live NBC musicals. So people from different parts of my world and my life who really believe this is an important message and mission have come together to make sure we accomplish this project and get it out there to people and have these conversations and make a difference. And so that's how it started. And
well, I just want to say that I am so grateful and honored to be a part of this. As you're walking through all these incredible people that are on the team, I looked at the team page and I'm reading and I'm like, I'm not sure how I got here, but I want to be here. I mean, just the incredible talent in a group that you have that have gotten behind this project and really helped push it forward and will continue to, like, I just feel so honored to have been invited to be a part of it. And, you know, I'm just grateful. So thank you so much for that.
Well,
and kudos to you and the team for just coming together, and wow, what a team.
I'm so grateful for you being here. And from the first time we spoke, you know, it was so clear that you understood what we were doing, and your enthusiasm and your deep understanding of the importance of this mission. I'm grateful. So it's nice to be mutually grateful. But yes, I mean, I also can't believe it, to be honest with you, when I look at our team's page, like my friend Amy, who worked for the Bush administration for 8 years, and Terry O'Neill, who is the president of the National Organization for Women, and Dr. Nancy O'Reilly running this incredible organization, Women Connect for Good, and Mara Burroughs Sandler, who's doing amazing things on Broadway and with prison reform. And with, like, there's so many different, and like Jenna, my sister, Jenna, you know, and Francis, he's like my brother, and all these people, Kim Coleman, I have so much respect and admiration for, as a casting director, as a human, and as a producer. Brooke, again, her name on the page is H. Brooke Perkins. But Brooke, who utilized her 20 years of experience on, you know, as a retired NYPD PD Sargent to create the story for the first film. We just have this, and Yvette, oh my gosh, Yvette Janine Jackson. I can't say enough about what a brilliant composer she is. And Christine Kim, our editor. I feel the same way you do. And these are people I've had in my life for a long time who have all come together. And for me to have you join, along with Jennifer Sheets most recently, I'm just absolutely thrilled to have you on this beautiful team, and you deserve to be here. So.
Thank you. And I know that Jennifer is just as grateful as I am, Jennifer being one of my closest friends. We're just so honored and grateful for it. So thank you again for that. Tell us this, okay, so the first film has been completed and it's been screened. It's won some awards, correct? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, the first
Congratulations.
film. Thank you. So, well, in case anyone doesn't know, the Cassandra Project is a trilogy of scripted short films, each sharing the theme of the dangerously high stakes of disregarding women's voices. Cassandra was a Trojan princess who was blessed with the gift of prophecy and cursed to never be believed when she disregarded the advances of Apollo, hence the name, the Cassandra Project. So we have completed the first short in that trilogy, and it is a crime thriller. It has won Best Narrative Short at the Moondance International Film Festival, and our lead actor, Edith Jason, who is an 80-plus-year-old Black woman, won Best Actress at the Mystic International Film Festival, and I freaking adore her. And we grew really close working on this. And, she told me she thought she would never get another audition because how many roles are there for older women, period? How many roles are there for older women of color? Like, it's just so, that was so special to see her recognized for her talent. And yeah, so that film is complete and we are currently fundraising for the next two. The second film is it's a psychological medical horror. And the third film is a chilling fairy tale fantasy. The second film, there are two leads, a la Thelma and Louise, and they're women in their 30s, 40s. And the third film, the chilling fairy tale fantasy, the lead is a young girl in her teens. And I don't want to give too much away about what they are, but those are the genres. And we are currently fundraising for those. So this is a grassroots project. We are not backed by a studio. We are not a studio. Every single dollar we have raised has been from outreach. And every single dollar someone has contributed has mattered to this project. So, we have some donors on a higher level and we have some people who've given $5 and that's just as important. Like that's all going to the screen. That's all allowing us to make this project and get it out there to schools. And I recently, a few months ago, started speaking at high schools and showing the first film and discussing this. And we have these incredible student ambassadors now. So it's a beautiful thing to have people of all genders and ages coming together and really all feeling that this message resonates with them and wanting to share it. And you know how bad I am at social media, but post it or tweet it or whatever. Thank God for Bailey.
I love that about you, though. It adds character, right? I mean, you're so incredible in your craft and what you do.
Yeah, I can build an Avid, which is an editing system. I can build a camera, Panavision camera, but I really am struggling with how do you send a tweet? And is it still even called a tweet? I'm not sure. But thank God we have the fantastic Bailey Torkelson on our team, who is running our social media now. So she's making that happen. But yeah, it's a beautiful group of people, and the message is really important. And that's the film we have completed. So we sort of have proof of concept to show people, and people are really affected by it. And we're raising for these upcoming 2 films. And we have some fundraisers coming up, one in Nashville at the end of September. I have one on the East Coast in October. But every day, anytime, right now, at this very moment, anybody can go to our website, which is www.thecassandraproject.net, click on donate. And I'm not just saying this, but like every $2 is, that's like craft services for the day for one of the people on set. And that is a huge difference for a project of this size. And we have fiscal sponsorship with a wonderful company called From the Heart Productions. So every dollar contributed is tax deductible. So that's a really wonderful thing as well, that they recognized what we were doing with this project and are sponsoring us. So
thank you for making my job so easy. It's like you're reading my mind. I was about to ask you, tell us about this.
See, I knew we connected. We connected very quickly.
You're already there. Reading each other's minds. I love it. I appreciate you so much taking time to come on and just share about, your life, your experiences in this project, because I too now am very passionate about this project and helping drive it to across the finish line, and then really getting it out there to the schools, to the different places that we want to get it out to, for that, the education and awareness and everything that goes into that. So I just really appreciate you taking time out of your super, super busy schedule to come on and chat with us about it, and also for the opportunity that you've given me to be a part. Is there anything else before we, cut off? Is there anything else that you want to share?
Yeah, well, first of all, I do want to thank you again. Thank you for having me. Thank you for being a part of this. I really am so excited about the collaboration that we will have and what you are adding to this already beautiful team we have. Something we didn't touch on that is important to me about the format of our project, which is meant to be viewed as a trilogy, is that it is a trilogy of narrative scripted films. And as an absolute lover of documentary filmmaking, I am finding that telling stories of this nature in a scripted format is engaging audiences in a deeper way. Because as opposed to going through a list of statistics and information, people are able to identify and hopefully root for the protagonist in each of these films. And so the conversation that allows us to have is a little more organic, I feel, as opposed to again, I absolutely love documentaries. So this is not, I'm just saying that I chose this. First of all, I'm not a documentary filmmaker. I have so much respect for documentary filmmakers. I'm a scripted filmmaker. But I do believe that for this particular subject matter and the way that I envision getting this point across, I should say, getting this point across and affecting people with this message, and getting this into HR departments, and getting this into training for police departments, and getting this into training at medical institutions and in high schools who are already asking to adopt this into their curriculums, along with the streaming release and all of the regular things that happen with the completed project. The fact that we are making these scripted films and that people are identifying with, again, I don't want to give too much away even about the first one, but people are really identifying with the protagonist and rooting for them. And so now they really have a stake and in this. And it's brought some very beautiful conversations about. And if we have one more minute, I just want to share that there was one young man at a high school I spoke to in the last few months, who came up to me afterwards and said, "Thank you so much. I think that I might have been a part of the problem. And I don't want to be. I don't want to cut the women off in robotics. I don't want, club, I believe it was a robotics club. I just felt this young man, along with all of our brilliant young women student ambassadors and everyone who has, whether their name is on our website or not, there are hundreds and thousands, actually more people who have supported us and lifted us up. But it just gives me so much hope. And I can encapsulate it with that one young man who was 16 or 17 years old and who had the courage to come to me and say, "I think I might have been a part of this problem and I don't want to be. Thank you for..." Wow. So that is why we're doing this.
And that is beautiful. It just reinforces the why, because it is making an impact. Yeah. And is going to make an even bigger impact. And so again, wow, just so grateful. I think it's a very important project. So tell everybody again how, if they want to either connect on social media, on donate, tell people how they can find the project.
Yes. Our website, www.thecassandraproject.net. And from there you can navigate, you can meet the team, you can watch the trailer for the first film. You can learn more about everybody involved, and you can donate, again, 100% tax deductible. And I truly mean it when I say that, look, if you were going to spend $5 on, is a pack of gum $5 these days? I don't know. If you're going to spend $5 on something and you could potentially give it to this cause instead that week, that would be beautiful, because you are now a part of this mission. And our Instagram is at Cassandra Project Film. And right now, Bailey, I take zero credit for our social media. Bailey had a brilliant idea, and we have a lot of wonderful people giving testimonials about what this project means to them and why this issue is so important to them, and why it resonates with them and why we should care about it. What we really...
A lot of faces that people will know probably too.
Yeah, actually, yes. We have a lot of really beautiful people with platforms who are lending their platforms to us because they really do believe in what we're doing. We welcome anyone and everyone to, spread the word, share it with your friends, your communities, your neighbors, and contribute if you can. And if you're not able to contribute financially, sharing it is helping. What is it called, Angela? Retweeting? Is that
oh. Resharing, tweeting,
like when you reposting, all
repost,
of that stuff. Yeah. Thank you.
Look, it took me a minute too.
you all know I'm not kidding. I really don't know how to use social media. But talking about it and having this conversation with each other, and also being as brave as that young man I referenced, who had the courage to recognize that maybe he was doing some very minor transgressions that could potentially lead to bigger ones in the future, that he didn't want to live his life that way. He wanted to be a part of the solution. So in order for us to make the next two films, we need to raise a bit of money by the end of this year. And our goal is to be shooting the next two films in the first and second quarter of 2027. We'll be done with post-production by the end of 2027. The full trilogy will be complete by January 1st, 2028, and ready to go out into the world on streamers and schools. and law enforcement institutions and medical institutions and HR departments and all of that stuff. So, whatever you can do to help us is genuinely deeply appreciated, whether that is contributing financially or sharing it with your communities or both.
Absolutely. And to everyone out there listening, don't forget that you don't need permission to evolve, just a fierce decision to begin. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to Fierce Frequency with me, Angela Cherry. If today's episode inspired you, don't forget to follow the show and share it with someone who needs that spark. Until next time, stay bold, stay powerful, and stay fierce. And remember, you don't need permission to evolve, just a fierce decision to begin.